Hello everyone, welcome to week 8 of the Algebra 1 SOL prep. We are going to be studying this time simplifying expressions with exponents and operations with polynomials. In this first example, they ask you which expression is equivalent to, and they give you this long expression with several variables. You can see there's an R there, there's an S, another R and an S. So they're mixing up variables here. We need to simplify. We're not going to end up with an answer for any letter, just simplify. We're going to be following these steps that are in your notes and following along with the calculator. They're asking us to assign values such as a 2, a 3, or a 4 to each of the problem's variables. So if in this case we have an R, we can assign an R of 2 and we can call S 3. So I've assigned those variables. You're going to store now your assigned values for each variable in the calculator using this button, the store button. So let's find that button in the calculator. It's right down here. So if for the R value I want to store a 2, it says I'm going to press 2. Then I'm going to store that 2 in the letter R. If you look at the green characters written here on your calculator, you can access those letters. And you can find letter R right here, right above the multiply symbol. So to access the green letter, I press the green button to access that green menu. And then it selects the letter R, and then I hit enter. So now the calculator knows that the number 2 is assigned to the letter R. I'm going to do the same thing for letter S, which should be a 3. So I press now the 3, and I'm going to store that that value into the button for the letter S. If you see the letter S in green is right above the LN button, so that's where I'm going to go alpha to access the green menu, and then I select S and I hit enter. So now my calculator knows that the letter S should be a 3. The next step that they ask us to do, I'm going to move the calculator here, is to type the problem. That would be this entire problem. Type it exactly as shown using the same letters and everything in your calculator. It might be a little bit of a slow process, but it's going to get to the correct answer. To type in the R, you're going to have to select the alpha button and then where the R is right here so that the R shows. Then you keep going, parentheses, they want an R again, so that would be alpha R again plus 6. And you keep on going, typing your entire problem, having to hit alpha before every letter that you type. Make sure it comes up. And we're almost done. 6, and then I need an S, so I press alpha for the letters, and then I find S. And make sure you close that with the parentheses. Always double check that what you typed in your calculator looks exactly like what they gave you in the problem, and then you hit enter to see what answer you get. Might be a big number, might be small, doesn't matter. Whatever you get, you write it down. Here we got a -10, so it's very important to write down that your given problem, the answer, it's quote unquote because it's just based on your values, was a -10. So now what we need to do is follow that exact same procedure, typing in each one of these options, A, B, C, and D, and check which one of those produces the answer of -10. So let's start typing in the first one, letter A, and you start typing that just the way you see it. Always remember to hit alpha before you get to the letter to make sure you get the letter and not what the other button says. And here's option A, and when you hit enter, you get a -14. You can go ahead and write it down. Then you're going to try the next one. After you finish typing option B, always double check that you typed it exactly the way it's showing in the options without accidentally changing any of the signs, and you hit enter. And this one produces an answer of +50. You keep on doing that for the next option. Here's option C. Hit enter. Check your answer. You got a -10. That was what we were looking for. a negative 10 matches what you were supposed to get. And if you want to double check, you can enter option D, 8r squared plus 51r minus 32s. It's going to give you another number. That was a 38. So the option that matched to what you were supposed to get was option C. So in this problem, you would select option C as your answer. In this second problem, they ask you which expression is equivalent to, and this is a fraction with variables in it. Might look a lot more confusing than what you had maybe here, but the procedure is exactly the same. We're going to assign a value to the variable x. Notice that you only have one variable, x, in this problem. We can assign x is equal to 2, and then we have to tell our calculator that x is supposed to be 2. So we select the 2 and you store it inside the x. So there's the x, and the calculator already knows. So what we're going to do now is enter all of this expression in our calculator. And I wanted to remind you that to enter a fraction, you press alpha, then y equals, then enter, and there's where you enter your expression. Start in the numerator 6, then the x, then you want to raise that x to the 4th power. To put an exponent, you go up here on this button, you press the whatever the exponent might be, then you have to scroll over, pressing the button here, so that the cursor goes back down for you to type the subtract without the subtract becoming part of the exponent. Keep typing 10x, then you have a squared. You have a convenient square button here, but you can also use the up exponent button here, either way, plus 2x. And then to go down to the denominator, you scroll down with this button and you type the 2x. You can now hit enter, and it's going to give you a value of 15. So you write that down, that your answer based on your selected value should be 15. Then you just proceed to check each one of the options. Here I have typed in option A, and I'm going to hit enter, and my answer is a 2, so I write it down. Then I type in option B. Here's option B. Always double check that you typed it correctly before you press enter, and write down your answer. Option C is now typed, and you hit enter. You get a 32. Write that down, and then try option D. There, I've typed option D. You hit enter, and you get a 15. So option D is the one whose answer matches what you were supposed to get. So you would select option D as your answer. Keep in mind that if you try all 4 of your options and none of them matches the answer that you got originally for the original problem, you have to type everything again carefully. Just go back in your calculator, scroll up to see what you typed for each option, because you may have accidentally typed something incorrectly, maybe missed a negative, maybe typed a 3 instead of a 4, and that would mess up your problem. So you have to make absolutely sure that you're typing everything exactly the same way as it shows. Some of the problems might use a model. Here you might see something that says, given the models x, what x squared looks like, what x looks like, what a number would look like, which factors represent the figure below. We're going to be using these steps that show in your notes. And what you're supposed to do is count how many of the x squareds, how many of the x's, and how many of the numbers would be the little squares, that you have in the given model, and write that down as your polynomial. So in this problem, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the big boxes. So that would be 6x squared. Then you count how many of the narrow rectangles you have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So that would be adding 17 x's to this problem. And also you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. So that would be plus 5. So the polynomial that this figure represents is the polynomial 6x squared plus 17x plus 5. This is your original problem written in math symbols. Now that we have the problem represented in math symbols that we recognize, we can follow the same procedures we have done in the last two problems. The first thing that we do is we type in our calculator a value assigned for x. Let's say that we want to assign x is 2 again. I recommend you using small numbers, 2, 3, or 4. So we go to our calculator, and we tell our calculator that the number 2, we want to store it inside the variable x. And you press enter to make sure the calculator has got that information. Then you type in your original problem, making sure you've typed it exactly the same way that it's supposed to be, and you're going to find out what it's supposed to equal to. In this case, it's supposed to equal to 63. So you have to make sure to write that down so that when you compare all of your options, you know which one provides that answer. We're going to type option A exactly the way you see it and hit enter. You're going to get a number, and we see that option A already matches the answer we're supposed to be getting of 63. I'm still going to double check option B is a 3. I check option C, and that's a 55. And checking option D, we get a -5. So I just wanted to double check all of them so that you see that only one of them should provide you the answer that matches the original problem. So in this case, you would select option A as your answer. Lastly, here's another type of problem using models that you might see. They might give you a problem where they ask you which figure represents a given polynomial or factors or whatever they want to present you. So the original problem is going to be given. What you need to do is rewrite each one of these figures as a polynomial, as a mathematical expression. So you need to carefully count how many of each kind, big boxes, narrow rectangles, and small boxes you have, and write it down under each one of the figures. Option A has 2 of the big boxes, so that would be 2x squared, and then it has 8 of the long narrow rectangles, so that would be plus 8x, because those long narrow ones are the x's, and then of the little boxes it has 8 of them, so that would be 8 numbers. In option B, there's only 1 of the x squareds. There are 8 of the long rectangles, and there are 12 of the little number boxes. In option C, there are 4 of the big x squared boxes. There are 6 of the narrow rectangles and just 2 of the small boxes representing numbers. And in option D, there's 1 big box. There are 3 narrow rectangles that represent the x's, and there are 8 of the little boxes that represent the numbers. Now that you've translated each one of the figures into polynomials that you can enter in your calculator, now we follow the steps that we followed in all the other problems. The original problem, which is the factors up here, is what you're going to enter first. Keep in mind that we have to assign a value for x first. Let's go ahead and assign x of 2 again. So 2 is stored into the x, making sure the calculator knows the value we want to use, and then type your original problem. There it is. Hit enter. Let's see what value you get. You get a 32. So you write down that you should be getting a 32 from one of these 4 options. Let's try entering option A first. There it is. And you hit enter and you get a 32. So I'm going to write that down here, that it's equal to 32. It does match the answer we need, but I'm going to show you why I always keep going. Let's type in the option for the option B here. We have x squared plus 8x plus 12. And I also got a 32. So we need to do something to help us further sort out which one is our correct answer. Before I do that, let me just type in options C and D and make sure that those don't also show a 32. See, this is a 30, so already I can scratch that one out. And when you type in option D, you would get for that one an 18. So we have narrowed down our options. What we're going to do is we're going to assign another value for x. 2 didn't work out. Let's try x is equal to 3 and see if it helps us sort out. So we're not going to be using the value for 2. We already know that it's one of these two answers, but we're going to retry our answer using now x is equal to 3. So we're not basing ourselves on the 32 anymore. Let's try telling the calculator that now 3 is going into the x. Because 2 didn't help us narrow it down, we try a different number. Now type in your original problem again. You're going to get your updated answer. Here we got a 45. So now a 45 is what we're looking for. Let's type in option A. So there it is. And that gives us a 50. So now we know that option A did not match the 45 I was supposed to get. Let's make sure that option B does. There's option B. And when we hit enter, we get the 45 that we were looking for. That 45 matches the 45 in our answer. So we would select option B as our answer. Remember that whenever you happen to get the same answer for more than one option, update the value of your x to the next number to see if that would reveal the true answer. Thanks for watching.